US citizenship is under attack. Here are 3 things you must know about your US citizenship when you're filing or just maintaining your citizenship. I'm your immigration attorney, Sékou Clarke, and today we are going to go over everything that is going on regarding US citizenship. Everything that's going on in Minnesota. This has been the biggest ICE presence in any state. You have over 2,000 ICE agents deployed in the state of Minnesota. Also, unprecedented, you have had 2 US citizens that unfortunately were killed by ICE. You have Alex Pretty and you also have Renee Good. Both of them were 37 years old. So regardless of the side that you are on, 2 people lost their lives by ICE. When did ICE become a military? So you will have one side that is saying, hey, you absolutely cannot interfere with a federal agent when they're carrying out their job and their duties. And another side is going to say, there is the First Amendment, right? You do have the right to petition the government. You do have the right to protest. You do have those rights within the First Amendment. Right? So no matter which side that you are on, a life was lost. You're going to have also the argument where people have said that all of these ICE protests, right, they have taken place in democratic states, right? And you're going to have another side of people that said these ICE protests, they're not taking place in democratic states. However, people are upset at the whole immigration process. They are upset that the democratic states, they offer health care to immigrants when you have born Americans who do not have access to basic immigration. But what we do know, right, is that there is a constitution and there is enforcement. You have the US government and the US Constitution, which gives a broad exception to preserve national interest. And simply put, they're saying that these 2 people that lost their lives, they were interfering with immigration and custom enforcement in their right and their jurisdiction to protect the nation. That is for you to decide. However, how can you protect yourself as a US citizen? How can you even apply for US citizen? Because how can you even apply for US citizenship? My number 1 rule is if you are eligible for citizenship, you need to apply. Now is the time to do it. You need to apply. What is the eligibility for citizenship? 1, you need to be at least 18 years of age. 2, you must have been a green card holder for at least 5 years continuously present in the United States, or 3 years if you got married for your green card. And also you must show that you have good moral character, right? Of course, there are certain bars that can prevent you from getting your citizenship, such as certain type of crimes that can make you permanently barred from getting your citizenship. There's also conditional bars. But again, the overall test of US citizenship to acquire your citizenship is good moral character. And a lot of people would say US citizenship doesn't mean anything anymore because now ICE, they have been arresting US citizens. US citizens have been deported. And I mean, look at 5-year-old Liam Ramos, right? And all the kids that have been detained, US citizen kids that have been detained because they have been peacefully protesting. If you didn't know, Liam Ramos, he was detained and with his father, who had a pending asylum case, and he was shipped off to Texas. However, a judge today said that he must be released. So we're working through it. US citizenship, you know the ways that if you are eligible, you must apply. What are the risks when you are applying for US citizenship? What I've seen in my office is that once you apply for your US citizenship, it is now a second bite at the apple for USCIS and DHS to review your entire immigration history, right? You can have your naturalization and If it can be determined that there was some type of misrepresentation made when you applied for your visa to come into the country to get your green card, it can be taken away. If you made a misrepresentation or signed or did anything fraudulent while achieving your green card, your US citizenship can be taken away. So if you are applying for your naturalization, you must be confident in your immigration history. Make sure you have all the proper documentation. Absolutely, they have changed and they have moved the goalposts as it relates to applying for citizenship, such as they can now do neighborhood checks. They have also added more questions to the civics test, which also is a requirement. So there are now more layers for you when it comes down to applying for your naturalization. And no, last but not least, there is also a risk of denaturalization. That is what DHS has said, but it is extremely difficult to denaturalize someone. There has to be a federal hearing. There must be proof that there was some type of fraud that took place when you applied for your green card, and it can only be done through the federal court and then through an immigration judge that will confirm that. So US citizenship, definitely get it. Can it guarantee you that you will be safe from immigration enforcement even if you are born in the country? Absolutely not. How can you protect yourself from that? Unfortunately, you must now walk with a copy of some type of proof of your US citizenship, such as your birth certificate, such as a copy of your passport. And who needs to do this? Unfortunately, if you look like an immigrant, you have to do this. The Supreme Court has stated that ICE, they can ask you and they can detain you if they feel you are not a US citizen. And the way how they can make that determination is if you don't speak English, if you look like an immigrant, if you work in places that is frequent with immigrants, and if you speak Spanish. And however unfortunate that you think that is, the Supreme Court has stated that it is in the best interest of US security to use these enforcement measures to protect the country. So again, to acquire your US citizenship through naturalization, 1, you must be 18 years old. You must have had your green card for at least 5 years or 3 years if you got it through marriage, and you must be living in the country and being physically present continuously, and you must also pass the civics test. 2, USCIS and DHS, they get a second bite at the apple once you apply for your naturalization. Why? Because they're now reviewing your entire history as it relates to any misrepresentations that was made in your green card application, and that can be something that can be used to deny your citizenship. 3, you can be denaturalized. It is extremely difficult for you to be denaturalized because you must go to a federal hearing. There must be unequivocal proof that you committed some type of fraud and you withheld some type of information on your green card application or your N400. And last but not least, you must protect yourself when it comes down to ICE, because as we have seen, 2 people have lost their life. Kids are now afraid to go to school because they can get detained and they also can get deported. So walk with proof of your US citizenship. If this was helpful to you, please like, share, subscribe to somebody who you think it may be helpful for them to see this video. I'll keep them coming just for you.